Do you remember Jimmy Carter's Playboy interview? He was the first president to ever be interviewed in Playboy. And again, this is a guy who's like I want to say a pretty hardcore Baptist. And he did an interview in Playboy, and he talked about having lusted in his heart for other women. And that was such a big deal because it was so unlike everybody's perception of him, especially the guy that he lost to in the 1980 election. And the reason he lost in the 1980 election, of course, was the hostage fiasco. But Carter had the balls to try to get him out. He had bad luck. A dust storm knocked one of the helicopters down, and we lost American lives, and the thing was a fiasco. And plus inflation, we had stagflation, if you don't remember the 70s. All these things conspired against him, none of which he could have fixed. But today's story that Jimmy Carter has cancer and that it spread to his other parts of his body is sad. But it also makes me happy to think about a guy like that because he seemed like such a great guy. Not everybody. His Ham Jordan, who was his chief of staff that he brought up from Georgia, and he brought his old Georgia mafia up to Washington in 1976. And Tip O'Neill, who was Speaker of the House, handed their ass back to them because Tip O'Neill said, "You don't run the city. We run the city. You're just here for a short time. I'll be here for a long time when I've been here for a long time." And it was interesting to see the way the Carter, crew, kind of, everybody from Jody Powell to watching his little daughter grow up in Washington, D.C. So I was there. It was my first time as a young person seeing the world up close and seeing a president in town who was different than previous presidents. The Ford was a congressman. Nixon was a machine. And this is a guy that came from the South who was the first Southerner, really, that in the era of mass communications ever to be elected president. And he had just had that kind of drawl. But he's a brilliant man. And he did television different.